Hi, I'm Andrew Scott, and in the Longevity Imperative, I outline the steps we need to take individually and collectively to ensure we seize the opportunities that longer lives bring us. But right now, that's not what we're doing. Right now, we focus on an ageing society, with an emphasis upon the rising number of older people. And in at least economics, that's seen as a problem, because that means fewer people working, it means more money being paid out as pensions, and more money being spent on healthcare. That leads to a weak economy and bad public finances. And that's the logic that leads governments around the world to start increasing the retirement age. In the Longevity Imperative, I argue we need a more radical rethink. The challenge is not the rising number of older people, but the fact that the young and middle-aged now have far more time ahead of them. And if we don't want to see a fall in our standard of living, then we have to be more productive over our entire life. That's the real problem we have to solve. Whilst raising the retirement age helps the government solve its pension problem, it doesn't do anything to make us more productive. And that's a real problem because right now, from around 50 onwards, more and more people find themselves dropping out of the labour market. For a few, it's because they can afford to, but for most, it's because they get ill, they have to care for someone who's ill, their skills are out of date, or they suffer from ageism in the workplace and find themselves unable to get a job. That's no basis for us being more productive over our life. And changing the retirement age doesn't help at all. If we could keep people healthy and productive for longer, the economic gains are enormous. If we'd ensure that people aged 50 to 64 are as likely to work as people aged 45 to 49, that's another 8 million workers in the United States. That's a huge longevity dividend. We need to realise that in the face of an ageing society, investing in health and education of older people is a source of economic growth. But that requires a fundamental rethink. It means moving away from an ageing society which sees older people as a burden and shifting towards a longevity agenda where we don't underestimate the capacity of older people. But the required change isn't only about what governments and firms need to do. As with so much of how we adjust to longer lives, there's a big responsibility on us. Whatever your age, you have to adapt to the reality that you'll be working longer than your parents did. That requires you thinking further ahead, doing more planning, and investing more in your skills. If you are going to be working for longer, you've got to think about whether your job is age-friendly. Is it something that supports a longer working career? And if your current occupation isn't age-friendly, how do you shift into something that is? But it's not just about whether you could do your job for longer. Is it a job that's going to interest you for longer? How do you maintain a sense of purpose and motivation at work? Longer working careers mean you're going to go through more transitions as you shift between different jobs and different stages of your career. A three-stage life of education, work and retirement is coming to an end. It's being replaced by a career that's much more multi-staged. Retirement too is coming to an end. The idea there's a single age where everyone comes to a hard stop of work has long since gone. Lots of people are working beyond retirement. People increasingly unretire. They're also working part-time. And that I think is a key insight because in the 20th century, as life expectancy got longer, we took more and more leisure after retirement. But as we're working for longer, we're going to take more leisure this side of retirement. That might be starting work later in your 20s. It could be taking time out to care for family, children or parents, or it could be dealing with career transitions and reskilling. But we're going to see a big change in where we take our leisure and how we distribute it over our life. One thing is for sure, simply raising the state pension age, increasing the age at which you retire, isn't sufficient to keep us productive for longer. That's why the Longevity Imperative says we've got to rethink work and the nature of our careers.